it's got to clearly depend on how bad the shot is, though. Because if you get fouled and knocked unconscious and then you come back,
you're just going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
If you get knocked out, that's why boxing, right?
Comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms.
So it's like a big part of it is speed. Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul being hospitalized following his knockout loss to Anthony Joshua while discussing the moment with Daniel Cormier. Rogan highlighted how clean and powerful the punch was, stressing just how dangerous boxing can be at the highest level. He explained that when fighters take shots like that, the consequences can be severe and long-lasting. Rogan also emphasized that no outcome in boxing is ever guaranteed, and that damage from fights like this can stay with a fighter for life.
Out cold.
He was
and then
done.
He outboxed him for the rest of the round.
How? But again, in MMA, fight probably would have been over, and he would have took less damage.
Right, but isn't that a better...
Sports Dr. Brian Sutter broke down the aftermath of the knockout from a medical perspective. He explained that while the fight result was not surprising, the real concern began when Jake Paul feared his jaw was broken. Sutter said a jaw fracture was definitely possible, given how cleanly Anthony Joshua's right hand landed on the left side of Jake's face. However, he emphasized that a concussion was the more serious concern. He explained that jaw injuries often come second to risks involving the brain, neck, or airway. The violent rotation of Jake's head from the punch likely caused significant force through the brain, increasing concussion risk. Even though Jake wasn't fully knocked out, Sutter warned that delayed symptoms could still appear, noting that Jake's immediate reaction showed he knew something was seriously wrong.
Not the outcome that we all expected. After the fight, though, Jake told Ariel Helwani that he was worried that he had broke his jaw. He said multiple times he was concerned that he had a fractured jaw. And certainly looking at this knockout punch that Anthony Joshua delivers, it is absolutely a possibility that Jake does in fact have a jaw fracture. I'd honestly be more concerned about a concussion. In fact, with most jaw fractures, the more important thing initially is to look for other injuries to the head, to the neck, to the airway. The jaw fracture potentially being there or not is going to be lower on the list often than whether there's damage to the airway, damage to the head. And so very possible to have a concussion or some residual symptoms from this, as Jake Paul's head is relatively still here. We see AJ comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms. But you can see where the punch comes in, landing square on that left side of Paul's face. Jake's reaction was pretty telling too. Right away after it, we could see him going down on the canvas here and being very shocked. It doesn't look like there's any obvious deformity to the jaw. We won't necessarily always see a deformity to the jaw, but you could tell he clearly had realized that something serious had happened there and feeling the full power of AJ's right. And finally, on this last view, we can see a little bit better the exact location where the punch comes in. We'll talk about our jaw anatomy, the different areas of the bones, but your temporomandibular joint, where your jaw articulates with the rest of your skull, is sitting right around in this area, and the jaw is roughly coming down in this orientation. And so where that punch comes in from Joshua is a little bit more kind of flush right in the center of the mandible, but also up close near.
Joe Rogan had warned before the fight that things were unlikely to go well for Jake Paul. He explained that Jake was accustomed to facing older or semi-retired opponents, but this matchup was completely different. This time, Jake was stepping in with one of the best heavyweights in the world. Rogan emphasized that the gap in experience, power, and overall level would be dangerous and unforgiving.
What do you think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him.
The aftermath of Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua triggered strong reactions across the boxing world. While some fans praised Jake for his courage in facing such a dangerous opponent, many respected boxing voices pushed back against that narrative. Luke Thomas was especially critical of the praise Jake received, calling it wildly exaggerated. He argued that people were applauding Jake simply for surviving rather than truly competing. Thomas pointed out that Anthony Joshua did not fight at full intensity and appeared to hold back throughout the bout. In his view, this was not a competitive fight, but a controlled situation where a top-level heavyweight showed restraint. Jake's performance, Thomas said, showed no real skill development, tactical growth, or intent to win, as he looked overwhelmed and struggled to engage meaningfully for most of the fight.
Initially watched the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. I think I would say that my conclusions now still match most of what I said when I was watching on the initial broadcast, which is that Joshua, he did look a little rusty to me. I'm sorry, but he did. That Jake is, probably a little bit better than we suggested he might be. When I say we, I mean like the hardcore fight community, the fight fans, the people who work in the industry to a degree. Sometimes there is a suggestion that he can't do anything. And I would be like, well, that's a little much. He can do stuff. I mean, it's limited what he can do. It's very limited what he can do. But there is a little bit too much anger towards him sometimes, or just dismissiveness, maybe is a better way to put that. And I don't really co-sign on some of that. He's got some ability. He's not good. Listen to me very carefully. He's not good. But is he the caricature that he is sometimes made out to be in terms of his pure boxing skill? I think it goes a little overboard sometimes. But that isn't the reason why I wanted to make this video. What I wanted to make this video about is two things. One, after the fight was over, I got on social media and people were like hugely negative about the fight. And I did not think that the fight was good. In fact, I thought the fight was, like most Jake Paul fights, pretty bad, although him surviving kind of feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his...
Lawrence Waukee took a different approach, but reached a similar conclusion, focusing on the inherent danger of boxing. He explained that one mistake in the ring can end a fight instantly, regardless of fame or preparation. From his perspective, Jake Paul stepping in with someone like Anthony Joshua was reckless, stressing that boxing is unforgiving and that mismatches don't become acceptable just because they generate attention. He described the decision as unnecessary and foolish, pointing out how easily the outcome could have been even worse. Despite the heavy criticism, some voices acknowledged Jake Paul's willingness to take punishment and continue. After the fight, reports confirmed Jake was hospitalized with a serious jaw injury, which a few commentators viewed as evidence of toughness. However, even those offering limited praise stopped short of calling him a legitimate professional boxer. The narrative centered on bravery rather than ability. In boxing, courage is respected, but without competitiveness, it doesn't change a fighter's standing. Jake's injury highlighted not only the physical cost of the fight, but also reinforced concerns about whether such matchups should happen at all.
I go to the hospital, I think I broke my jaw. We all know he broke his jaw. We all know we've seen the x-ray. There is a video of the x-ray that he showed us on his Instagram, so that was no AI. And it showed where his jaw had to be reconstructed and, wired, right? So he can't have any hard foods for a while. And again, I think Jake Paul is going to get respect for that, because it's one thing, because we all know about Jake. I think the problem with Jake was he was bullshitting us by giving us fights that we didn't want to see, for one, and for two, wasn't giving us fights most of the time of the people that could beat him. You know, he gave us Tommy Fury, and then Tommy Fury actually beat him, which, you know, whatever. But he did drop Tommy Fury with a left hook, so that was an impressive thing he did against the guy. Can't say the only guy now, because AJ fought him and knocked him out. But, you know, other than that, though, fighting Mike Tyson, Anderson Silva, which Anderson Silva showed that he is still very dangerous and very, very ready at 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, what he did to Tyron Woodley was classic Anderson Silva. You know, he picked his shots. You know what I mean? He moved with grace, he moved with wisdom, and he knew exactly what to do. And again, he should have went over to boxing a long time ago, but Jake beat him. So that just made Jake's, you know, stock rise, right? In the sense of, hey, well, he beat Anderson Silva.
Adam Catterall was especially blunt in his assessment. He criticized the growing role of popularity in modern boxing and argued that Jake Paul is a direct product of that imbalance. According to Catterall, Anthony Joshua wasn't even throwing his punches at full power, yet still caused serious damage, which highlighted the massive gap between the two fighters. He warned that if Joshua had fully committed to his shots, the outcome could have been far more severe. Catterall's criticism went beyond just the fight itself and focused on the direction of the sport. He argued that boxing increasingly rewards fame over merit, leaving fighters who grind through the rankings overlooked, while internet personalities receive major opportunities they haven't earned in the ring. For Catterall, this fight symbolized everything wrong with that trend. Jake Paul's involvement wasn't impressive, but rather evidence of a system that prioritizes attention over sporting integrity.
Thinking, for my own credibility, I've got to knock you out, but I've got to try and knock you out where I'm not hurting you as much as what I could if I unleashed. Yeah. And with the punch you said that he landed, it's not his best punch, it's his most powerful punch, right? Yep. And he's shattered his jaw in 2 places, right? So Anthony Joshua gets his 70 million, 60, whatever it is. But I think he's sitting there thinking, thank God for that. Thank God. On a human level, I've come out, all right, I've sort of, not reputation, but I haven't hurt him as bad as what I could have.
There should be an awful amount of people breathing a massive sigh of relief. Anybody that put that fight together, athletic commissions, like you said.
It wasn't a fight.
No, it wasn't at all. Like you said, it was a prize fight. It was an event. If Anthony damages him, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stress to deal with, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's bleeding inside of relief. The team that have put him in there, that have negotiated that for him, but the authorities that put that on and commissioned it as a proper boxing match, I've no doubt.
Does that go on his... Because
it's a professional boxing.
Do you know what? If I was Anthony Joshua, I would be saying, I don't want that on my record. But for the credibility of them putting the fight on, they would have said to him, no, we've got to say this, it's been commissioned, it's going to be a proper fight. And I found it, I love my boxing, but I just find the whole thing really, really unedifying. You said about get followers, you mentioned Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is nowhere near his level of getting like a British title fight or whatever. Nowhere near. So it's basically, he's like...
Beat Jake Paul.
Well, beat Jake Paul. But so
but what I'm saying is that's 100. I stand by that, and I think Tommy would admit that. You know what I mean? To become a British champion is a very prestigious thing to do, and I think he would struggle to do that.
But I think when I was reading, he got 5.6 or 6.
True Jordy offered a more balanced but still critical reaction. He acknowledged that Jake Paul's personal journey and rise from entertainment were interesting on a human level, pointing to his discipline and ambition as motivating traits. However, when it came to the fight itself, Jordy was clear that Jake failed to deliver. He said Jake didn't look like someone trying to win, moving cautiously, showing hesitant offense, and appearing focused on survival rather than competition. Jordy emphasized that boxing isn't judged on stories or intentions, but on what happens inside the ring. While Jake's journey may inspire some, the performance offered nothing memorable from a sporting standpoint. In that context, the broken jaw became symbolic not of bravery, but of the predictable outcome when clear skill gaps are ignored.
For me to evaluate, because on the one hand, Jake's come a long way, so you want to give him credit for that. But on the other hand, you want to get in there with AJ. You want to talk about you're going to beat AJ up and then you fight in a certain way. It's very hard for me to kind of give the right amount of credit and criticism here because the backstory is so inspiring, but the performance was not inspiring in some ways. I think for me now, I just want to see Jake Paul in a fucking competitive fight. And that's the problem with the direction he's been going in, is he puts on big fights, but not competitive fights. Fighting Chavez Jr., that was an easy win. Nate Diaz, an easy win. Mike Tyson, an easy win. Anthony Joshua, not competitive for the opposite reason. He's completely not expected to win, and it wasn't competitive. He stacks the chips too heavily either way, and because of that, we never actually get to find out how good Jake is. And part of that, I think, is maybe deliberate, because then we never know, and the storyline can go anywhere. And while you don't know really how good he is, there's always another dream to sell, and it's almost genius level promoting. It really is. But for his own sake, you're getting into your late 20s now, your physical prime, you're only going to ever find out how good you really are by getting in there with people who are of the level that you claim you're at the right weight class. You are not a cruiserweight. You've got a layer of, body fat on you. You can't be doing that in boxing. If you're a serious boxer, you don't get in there looking like Jake Paul looks. You look shredded. And that's why really he's a light heavyweight. But fuck it. If you want to be cruiserweight, be a cruiserweight. Regardless, just fight people who are now ranked, and let's find out where the fuck he is. Because surely, these money grab Tyson fight, the AJ fight, he's packed that bank chock full. And credit to him. Even if he has hustled people or whatever the fuck, credit to him. One of the best promoters in boxing history, actually. I really do believe that. Because even when fights seem ridiculous.
Paulie Malignaggi was among the harshest critics of the fight. As a former world champion, his standards for boxing are uncompromising, and he dismissed the bout as unserious and non-competitive. Malignaggi argued that Jake Paul never tried to win and instead focused on surviving, repeatedly dropping to one knee and treating the fight like a spectacle rather than a real contest. His criticism came from respect for the sport. Malignaggi emphasized that boxing careers are built on years of sacrifice, discipline, and hardship, and seeing someone gain attention for simply lasting in the ring was insulting to fighters who dedicate their lives to the craft. From his perspective, the fight did nothing to advance boxing in any meaningful way.
The boxing fans by going out on his shield. Guy just ran for his life. I just watched Jake Paul run for his life for 5-6 rounds. Literally just run for. He was doing football jukes. You guys watched that fight? Ring was big. I made a freaking point about that ring being big, and he used it to his advantage in terms of survival in every way he could. I mean, this guy literally never tried to win a second of the fight. He was trying to throw a home run punch every once in a while. And notice every time he got in the clinch, he just went down. He just hugged Anthony Joshua and then would go down, and the referee would call it a slip and give him a break. And he would just kill time that way. Then he was completely angling off. He was completely blading his shoulder off completely to the point where he's so bladed off that he can't even punch. He was just trying to make himself as small of a target as possible. And Anthony Joshua, people are going to say, oh, why didn't Anthony Joshua catch up to him? Because Anthony Joshua never had fast feet to begin with. And Anthony Joshua, honestly, should have probably cut off the ring a little bit better. That's my one critique of Joshua. He probably could have cut off the ring a little bit better. Joshua's always never really had the best feet, but in terms of cutting off the ring, he could have at least done that. But honestly, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, this guy ran for his life in a 22 by 24 ring. That ring was huge. I can't believe what I just watched, guys. I'm seriously dude. That's it. This was AJ's chance. Could have went out on his shield and his chance to say, yeah, get the respect of the boxing community. This was the one that could have got him the respect of the boxing community. This was the one. He came out with all this rap crap and doing the Hulkamania crap and all that other stuff and all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, is he that calm, or is he literally just setting up his own demise? I don't know. AJ came out to the ring really serious, which would you expect? And then, I mean, he never fought. Jake never fought. He never fought the whole fight. And then in the end, what happened? You get stopped anyway. You took some shots anyway. His mouth was bleeding at the end of the fight.
That's it for today. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next one.